Okay, people out there, I want you guys to be patient. This is our very first podcast, so just ride with me. We've called this podcast the 2SIDE podcast. You got the left side, the right side, the front side, the rear side, that side, the other side, but today we're going to tell our side. So let me first of all introduce myself. My name is Roger Fabri. To the left of me, Becky Amadowski. And I don't even know if they're guests or the partners or owners or what we're going to do at this podcast, but for just today's purpose, we've got Curtis Scott.
Rog, how are you, mate?
Good, thank you. And Bronson Xerri.
What's going on?
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
I'm going to rip right in, boys. I want to talk a little bit about, I don't want to go, I think the theme of this podcast is to try and get a little bit outside the square and try and talk about things that potentially when you go onto a podcast, I sort of feel that there's a scripted mode. And when I've seen people go on numerous types of podcasts or alternate podcasts, they seem to be asking the same questions over and over and over again. It's like, I sort of get it. Everybody's got a different audience, but I think I want to try and just stay away from your mainstream types of questions of, how many games you played and et cetera, et cetera. So let's get straight into it. Both of you have been without football for a while. I want to talk about, I'm going to be asking several questions on how your life has been without football being in it. But I'm going to try and just paint this scenario for you because you'll be able to relate to this. When I first wanted to get into the football world myself, I was almost like I was starstruck. It's like it was a culture that I really wanted to be around. It's like I'll do anything to be around that type of the environment, the footy environment. And I used to see exactly what sort of a lifestyle you guys had to lead, always being under scrutiny. I think I was attracted to the lifestyle of having people paying attention to you. And the question I want to ask of you straight away is, have you noticed since you guys have been away from the game that the attention on you has become less or more? Or have you noticed that people, from having people run all over you or jump all over you to I don't know, do you have a different interpretation of how they view you now?
You start us off. Mine's probably a little bit different to Bronson's. I definitely feel like for me, because I'm not playing on telly or anything anymore at the moment. Definitely that attention and the fan base you kind of lose. Like you have your loyal fans that still follow you, still speak to you, still check in every now and then. But I think the game's pretty quick to
dismiss you?
Yeah, like.
Would you find the same way?
Yeah, but I was surprised too. Like I thought, kind of being away from the game for like 4 years, that people would have forgot about me or whatnot. But yes.
So do you still? Okay. You got to understand from normal people's perspective, some people that wouldn't understand this environment, to become fire, like that would be, so I've never been in a position where I've been famous. And I think everybody always looks at, whether they like it or not, would love to have a position where you're recognised or, people know who you are going down the street. Now, you guys have sort of lived a life where, from a young age, you've been in a position where most people know or pay attention to you. The question I'm really trying to understand is like, I'm looking at from my side of view, I've got reputation from you guys. You've built your reputation, which now that you haven't been in a position to keep enforcing your reputation, do you like the fact that now you've come back to being what a regular person feels like? Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I feel like we'll always be in that limelight, no matter what. Like, I'm sure Curtis will agree. Like, we always still got to put that.
So I'm gonna rebut this, Bronson, because you know very well that I've been in the game for a long time, and I've seen guys at their peak of their career. Our guest that was supposed to come on today was Todd Carney, and I saw him in his limelight in 2010. So hypothetically, let me rephrase and re-ask this question. How long do you think it would take for people to forget about you? Say you were at a position where you guys were going to retire.
Well, it depends how well your career was. Let's see how famous you were.
So
if you put it in my situation,
yeah.
Well, I've been out for 4 years. I think I still get.
But you're still relevant, though.
I still get recognised.
But you're both still relevant.
Yeah, of course.
You know, you're both still in the game.
I think depending on the career. But I'd say at least 6. 6 years.
I don't know. Like I've been out. I've missed 2 full seasons now, and I've had to work on job sites, and you know I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning, jumping on a train, going to work in the city. I think for me, like I've always taken myself as just a regular bloke anyway. From when I was a kid, I grew up. I didn't think I was better than anyone else, and even when I played NRL, I didn't think that I was better than the average person that would go to work. So the moment I got sacked, I went straight into the workforce, and you know, you have the occasional bloke that has a beer at the pub and remembers. Or they ask the question, "Oh, you look familiar. Did you used to play football?" Yeah, they occasionally for me. Like, it's probably different for Bronson again because I don't know, his stuff was pretty public. I mean, a lot of my things were public as well. But yeah, not many people really remember my football ability. They kind of look at all the things where I've stuffed up along the way.
And I mean, I'm going to talk about that at a later stage at some point we're talking about this podcast. You know that. Unfortunately, people really remember you for the bad things. It's like even myself, you know, it's like mud, it doesn't stick, even no matter what you do. Again, I'm going to use Todd.
It helps with media. I mean, that's where media gets their work from as well. So
absolutely. They're the ones that actually want to come to you. You look at a guy like, again, let's just keep using Todd Carney as the profile or the platform. Like he's won a Daily M medal, but was remembered as a bubbler.
Yeah. I think that's what we all kind of have to accept, really. That
and it's like part
we've you know, we've
but
been
it doesn't
our worst.
really take the professional aspect away from the player, though. And I think once you're a professional, you're always a professional.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's what you actually made.
But
you
like
made
Roger
that
said,
level.
everything we've done bad is always going to be remembered more so than the good.
And so let me go back to the fact, do you ever wish that you just were regular?
Yeah, sometimes I do. I've always think of myself as a regular person. That's what's probably got me in strife before, because when I'd go out for a beer, I didn't really think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have, or maybe I should just have 1 or 2 and go home. I'd be with my mates that didn't play footy, and I'd be just having just as much as fun as them. And then I'd just think I was a regular and just a knock around bloke, and then I would end up in trouble.
Because that's what most jobs do.
Yeah.
People go to work and they're able to do what they want once they get home.
And I put myself in a position where I usually wouldn't put myself into, and that's what I've had to learn over the last 3 or 4 years to work out that decision making around that area.
So would it be fair to say that the public are ignorant to understand that how much you actually sacrifice, that you can't just go out and be regular and 100%. Fuck around at a nightclub and throw some ice at a person or play games or potentially, and I'm a big advocate for this because I have said it on my social media many times about you guys, that, for me, you guys will probably, and you may not think that there's anything of it, for me is one of my bucket lists, like being able to go to Europe in June and July. You guys play all the time. You can't ever go there. And when you are able to go to potentially a pool party in Vegas when it is summer.
You have to behave
or not so much that you behave, but you'll never get there in summer because that's when you're playing in that season.
Yeah.
And when you do actually get there and you might be 32 or 33, you actually miss 10 years of having fun, what like regular kids do.
Yeah, I think that's why like we're different makes to the average. Like you got to have something inside you to be a professional athlete across any sport, I believe, because if it was easy, everyone would be playing in.
But you still have to have ability though, Curtis.
Of course, but like that work ethic, that obsession, the sacrifice that comes along with it is that comes part and parcel, because you do earn good money when you're playing.
It can't just be a job. You've got to actually enjoy what you do. The income's just a bonus.
It sort of gets me to my next point, which I feel. So do you feel that, because this is really what the public will say, well, you guys get $850,000 a year, you should act this prototype?
Yeah, but then at the end of the day, we are still human.
Yeah.
You know? Like people,
Well, this is what I'm trying to ask you.
understand,
But
yeah.
you're going, now you're just
back and forth. No, I understand.
The public just should expect them to act like any other normal person does on the street or
should
or
they?
in a club.
Oh,
They
no.
should act like any other civilian. Yes.
But I don't know. They're getting $850,000. They're supposed to be role models and mentors to young kids.
Yeah, but when people are in public in general, there are rules anyway for everybody. So they've still.
But the
gotta follow
rules
the
for
same
those general
similarities.
public don't seem to be anywhere as severe as what happens to you guys. They don't lose their
Well,
job.
because they don't have people approaching them. They don't have people coming up to a person like me, or and provoking us because
ahead.
of their level.
It's a hard question to answer because I've been in that position. I haven't been on 850,000. That'd be nice, but I've been on relatively good money, and I was never taught or I was taught as a kid good morals and grow up, but like people got to realise that people make mistakes in life. Like every punter on the street that rips into someone that does something wrong, they've probably done the same thing.
But you don't hear about those people.
I know, but a lot of even ex-players, they talk about how crazy the times used to be when they were younger. I know the times have changed, but people still go out there. People still make mistakes. Like we don't. Well, me especially, I don't go out and think that I'm going to go do something wrong and want to do something wrong. It's just mistakes I've made along the way. And the important thing is, I've had to learn.
I mean, there was no cameras back then neither.
Exactly.
So,
well,
that
but
doesn't help.
The thing is, when we get in trouble, we pay the maximum price. We lose our reputation. We lose, I lost contracts. You get hit financially, and
You lose your reputation, and you hurt your family.
Yeah, your family. That the toll it actually brings is, massive on yourself and the people around you that help you.
And then if you put that actually into consideration, and you take the both of you, for example, let's look at the actual window of earning potential. I know that the average, I think the average lifespan of an NRL player is actually only 2 years. So you've already taken 4 years away from your life. Mm-hmm. And how long have you now been out of the game?
It's been 2 years now,
Okay.
yeah.
So let's say that if we dotted every I and crossed every T, your maximum earning potentially in the NRL, what would it be? 10 years? If you're good and you've got a good life,
yeah.
that's a good career.
From beginning to end.
So what I'm trying to ask you is there an education put on you guys when you do sign a contract, or is it just expected a common sense of what actually could potentially happen to you?
There's workshops. There's workshops. It's just how much you take out of it. I remember when I was playing, I had some really good mentors at times of my career that helped me a lot. So for me, if I ever make it back to playing and doing what I want to do again, that would be something that I would like to do. I'd like to help the younger guys that are coming through, because I've been on both sides now. I've been at the highest of the highs and I've been at the lowest of the lows. And even when I was at the highest of the highs, I would question whether, is this really what I want to do? Or you get or hate comments and you'd be like, oh, do I even want to play anymore? And you question that, but then once you lose everything, you realise how important rugby
really
league is to you and how much you do want to be there and play.
I don't think many people realise what comes with being a football player, the stress and the pressure and all the
this is what I'm trying
all the hate that comes on us. But
I'm going to flip this around on you two, right? Now you're talking to somebody who's regular. I haven't come from a background where I've always been famous or I've been popular, but I do feel that one thing that I have come and is common courtesy and respect. And why I do mention this, right, is I sort of feel, and this is no disrespect to any of you guys, and most of my really close friends are either current football players or ex-football players. And I'm going to just talk to you from how I see it on the outside, and we talk about friendship now. You talk about being in the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. So one question I do want to ask you before I get into that is, Do you ever look at your circle of friends and try and qualify if they're there because of who you are?
Of course, yeah, 100%.
As opposed to, like for something like me, if I have somebody hanging around with me, I know they want to be with me because of who I am. I've got nothing to offer them. I don't. And
well,
again,
I think we spoke about this, Roger. I think when obviously with me and Curtis's situation, I think when you go through stuff in life, hard times, it kind of filters out all the good and bad people in your life.
I do agree on that.
But in a general workforce, though, people do become friends with who you work with because that's your circle. So if you spend a lot of time with those people, so it's expected that those are the draw cards that are going to start to sort of hang with you. You could say who were their friends when they were younger before they made the big break. Are they still your friends?
Yeah.
You know, are you still seeing these
but
people?
you still, life still evolves, and
of course, life evolves,
and
you come across people. I've come across people now, you know, in my journey of career, and you know.
But that would have no alternate. They'd have no alternate motive than to be your friend, But
yeah.
I know, for example, because I've seen it. I'm firsthand at this. Again, I'm going to use the guy Todd Carney. In 2010, being a friend of his had great advantages for me. I'll tell you. I was allowed in the change rooms. He got me now he was. I'll be honest with you, and I got to give a shout out to Brian Smith here because I was ignorant in my first days when I first started playing, hanging around and having a job, and what he did for Todd and what he did for myself as well. Really probably gone a little bit step further than any other coach that I've seen. Now, being a star player of a team, I categorically have seen it. And then because I've been involved with Hayne, I've been involved with Carney, both Daily M players, and the rules are a little bit different in that I'm not going to say that they get away with things that they shouldn't get away with, but I got access to stuff that, you know, would be phenomenal. The other lurks and perks that these guys got, girls would just go all over him, and I got to roll around with these types of girls. For a guy that's just regular, that's exciting. Walking into a nightclub, getting VIP access. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like,
so that you do get better treatment.
They probably don't see it from them. They're the professionals themselves, so they probably don't understand your version of how it feels to you or to the people that may be hanging off.
You're getting the advantages from him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So, but that wasn't my objective. That wasn't my intention.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to bullshit to you. And when he was here, this was going to be part of my question. The first person that I wanted to meet as soon as I got to the job at the Roosters was Todd Carney. So I had him on my radar. Whether we were going to be friends or not, I was like,
star back then?
Well, he was at Canberra, and he already had a really good reputation, and he was the biggest off-field signing. I was like, this guy's just going to make it or break it. I want to be around him.
People just have their favourites, though, like in the game. And there might not be a specific reason as to why they do. I mean, ask the outside, look at the community, how many people say, I love that player, I love this guy. Why do you love him? Because they play great?
Yeah.
They look great? What is it?
So let me get back to my original point. The point that I'm trying to make is that, and Todd will be probably one of the first people to admit this, I think being involved in the football culture robs you of understanding how to be a great friend. And you may take this offensively or what, just having, I don't know, because you get bombarded with texts or you get bombarded with people.
I think it's the opposite, to be honest.
Okay. So
I think when I was playing, everything that I had the opportunity to bring my friends, I brought them along.
But they're already your friends.
Exactly. I was blessed to be.
You wanted to include them.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the friends that you have made since you've been playing football.
Do you mean like the people that just hang out with you,
just using you
because
exactly.
they can get into
Yeah,
but that's when you got to know. You have to have an eye for who's using you.
So, but how do you qualify that?
I think you should. I think
you should have I don't know. I've never been as high as Daily M's or anything like that.
But you still would have people.
Well, I think we all get blindsided at some stage, so they'll probably be similar. How do you tell?
Yeah, it's a hard question to answer again because at the time you're riding the highs as well, so you just think you're just going along with it. Like this is just a part of it. I think the important thing, the thing that happened with me is once I stopped playing, everyone disappeared, and that's when you actually find your real friends and your real people. Like, I think it's important at the time, like, because not everyone will go through adversity. You just got to be smart and find the people that actually want the best for you, because, you know, I've been in positions with people that I think that are my friends, and
they do you wrong.
Yeah, and I've ended up in bad positions either because of them or because of me. But if they're your real friends, I'll be like, tap you on the shoulder and say, right, let's go, let's not do that, let's do this. That's what I've found now.
So would it be safe to say that your circle of friends, if you had to put a percentage on them, how much do you reckon you would have filtered out of your life?
I could probably count on one hand real people that are in my life that are genuine mates.
Now,
yeah.
And before? While you were playing?
Like you meet and you know a lot of people, but you say...
So let me rephrase the question then. In this time of adversity that you both have had, are you disappointed with the amount of support that you've been given?
I'm actually grateful. I'm like grateful.
You are now, but I'm asking you now, when it initially happened, was there ever a stage when you guys got the sack that you looked back maybe 5 or 6 weeks down just after it and thought, where the fuck is everyone?
Definitely. Like, there was definitely times.
Was it a sudden
it's
drop?
For me, it was a part of me growing up. That was with me slowly starting to take steps forward and growing up. That was the part where I didn't worry about that stuff anymore, because I used to expect, why didn't they message me? Why didn't they check on me? Why didn't they ask to come and see me? Or like, that was the step where I was like, look, I'm here. I need to get myself out, and the people that genuinely care about you will make the effort, and they'll come and see you. They'll they'll support you, and then that's what I've found now. Like, my circle is just full of people that only want the best for me and would do everything they can to help and push me.
I'm the same.
So you've openly come out and said that you suffered with mental health. Would you say that part would have certainly played a big emphasis on why you were feeling so bad? That you actually realised that the support structure that you thought potentially you may have had, or you were disappointed?
Of course I was disappointed. And I think it didn't help either that I was young, I was 19. So I was obviously, thinking,
It's the end of the world.
Yeah. And who's there for me? Why is this person didn't message me? Or why didn't this one reach out to me? But then...
I'm still Bronson Xerri.
And then at the end of the day, like, now I can see it and say, look, I think it's a blessing.
But we know that it's a blessing, and,
At the time, don't get me wrong, it's the worst thing ever. Like, the story we done, like, I reached out and said how hard it was, but, yeah.
I don't think anyone would ever understand how hard... I mean, I've been sacked from 2 or 3 places, and also, as it's been well publicised, I also ended up in jail. And so I know really how hard it is to reinvent yourself and pick yourself back up again. And hopefully you're going to get an opportunity, both of you, where redemption, I mean, in your case, Curtis, I think this is a real good chance, because this is your second time, isn't it? Is this your first time or second time that you've been sacked?
I've been sacked from Canberra. I just haven't got back from...
Okay, so, I mean, this is... If I can tell you anything from my experience, the redemption stories for yourself, to rebuild your confidence and rebuild your mental health, and just to get that chance again I think, when I first started, it was like I wanted to prove a point to everybody else, but I promise you, it's just a point to prove to yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
And once you get that part, then you'll really flourish.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I wanted to speak about, the indiscretion. I want to speak about you know, you've really had to, like, I've taken my hat off to you. I think that, you know, I suffer with addiction. I've openly said that, and I've started to try and correct that part of my character. I've got a really an addictive nature, and I have to be honest with you. You've been really supportive of me, Curtis. How have you been finding it now that, you know, you're now coming back into the NRL, hopefully? You know, we're hopefully going to get things right for you, and certainly you've been doing stuff off the field. What sort of stuff have you been doing off the field that's trying to help you to get back to being the best version of yourself?
Well, obviously I don't drink anymore. I don't drink alcohol anymore. So that's been one of the bigger factors in my career that have got me on the, you know, the back pages of the paper. So that's been the main thing where, you know, I've cut that out of my life.
Did you always know you had an issue, or did you ever feel that you have an issue with alcohol?
Look, I don't think I have an issue with alcohol. Like I'm not putting it on my Weet-Bix in the morning and you know, having it every day. It wasn't like that. It was more a coping, like self-medicating mechanism that I would use. So,
but what are you medicating for or from?
You know, like if I was struggling with things mentally, I was struggling with things, you know, off the field. If something wasn't going good in my life, that's what I would turn to. That would be my medication.
Yeah.
I wouldn't talk to anyone. I wouldn't do anything. I would try and mask the way I was feeling by having a drink. And then it wasn't one or two drinks. It was
Many.
Yeah, it was a few.
But then it would be foolish to think that life is not also going to keep throwing you curveballs. So what strategies have you got in place? Or,
well, like I was saying before, you know, I surround myself with the right people these days. You know,
you're doing meetings?
Yeah, I'm regular at meetings.
So let's go back to what we were talking about right from the start. Then if I looked at my circle of friends that I had before I had my mental breakdown, and I tried to cross-reference, are they any of these types of people that would motivate me and come and get me out of bed or say, I know how you feel, then I look at them and there's none of those. And so by having this situation has filtered me to be able to attract these people around me to be able to support me because they now understand what I'm going through. So in actual fact, the playing field that I was on before didn't really accommodate me.
Were you speaking out like how you speak out now?
Always.
Yeah?
Always. People always know. People will never.
Him not as a spokesperson.
No, but I'm just saying.
No, always. I'm very open because. So, let me rephrase that. The people around me knew. Everyone around me knew. Of course, I have got a business to protect as well, and I didn't have a reputation where I could just openly speak like I can now because I had to build myself up. The last thing I want to be doing is thinking, oh, is this client going to be dealing with a person who's not mentally stable? Now, my business and my reputation can proceed and speak for itself, then I can be as open as I want. It's not going to affect my business in one iota. In actual fact, as you guys very well know, my social media completely contradicts the way I carry on. It doesn't, you know, you think that I'm professional, you look at me, it looks like I'm a fucking transsexual. Which actually right now leads me to my next question that I wanted to ask you. I want to talk about social media. How do you find it? Toxic, productive? Do you like it or you don't like it? And you're both on it now.
Look, I would.
Do you feel you have to have it?
Nah, I definitely don't feel like I have to have it.
But you do have it.
Yeah, if I ever, like, I think it's a distraction. I think it, you know, causes problems.
But we're on it.
Whether you're looking at negative comments or you're looking at positive comments, it can build you up. You can feel 10 foot tall.
Yeah.
You could think you're better than you actually are, or like work the other way. You can cop abuse. You know, there's players out there.
Yeah, you got your haters.
Cop it from pillar to post, and you know, like it does affect you. I think. Like,
there's pros and cons.
Yeah,
do you actually take note of more of the haters' comments than the actual likes?
It's.
Well,
what affects you more?
If I'm talking on my behalf,
you know, as a balance, because there's so many positive comments that the both of you get in things, but which one strikes you more? When you see one horrible comment and the whole thing.
Does the hate affect you?
No, otherwise I wouldn't post anything, or I wouldn't. I would delete their comment.
Does it affect you?
It affects me to an extent. Yeah.
Because you got like some blokes.
Do you reckon it affects me?
Well, look at
the
shit
no,
you post.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm asking a question. Do you reckon it affects me?
I think it affects you a little bit, but
So would it be rightful to say that I give haters ammunition if they wanted to come at me?
I give haters ammunition too.
In what way though do you give it?
Well, okay, so I've
The
been,
content you post is decent.
no, so I've been labelled a drug cheat, yeah.
But that's not-
But I put on I go on Instagram and put on me training without a top off. What's the hate?
point.
What's the comments gonna be?
It's a good point. It's a good
It's
point.
common. It comes all the
Exactly.
time with it.
But if I
Okay.
But you know the answer.
But
Isn't it-
Who cares
if I
about
cared
those
so
people?
much, would I post it?
But no. The simple fact that you're aware of it.
I am aware of it.
So I wouldn't think, and I understand where you're coming from now, that as a general public, I don't view you like that, but I can understand how you potentially would question whether I should post this or not. Anytime you post anything.
No, I don't think he probably does.
Oh, well, he must, because
I do.
otherwise he wouldn't be aware of what he's saying.
I
then.
do. No, I do.
But I think that's just something for Bronson now is learnt that he's now got to live with for the rest of his life.
But you could also
It's
then,
his
on the flip
coaching.
side, I could turn around and say to you, well, you don't have to post something without a shirt on.
But he's happy with the way he looks.
And I need you to be that way. I think that's
You don't
important.
park a Ferrari in the garage, mate.
I've heard this before from you, Curtis.
Look at it.
I agree. But so
And and you get those common comments and whatever else, and people are still questioning
It's
and
just-
whatever else.
it's
But
the-
Bronson knows.
Mate,
He's the one that knows
it's
he's
the
been
day and
tested
age we live in,
regularly,
man.
so what's the matter?
And I'm single.
Yeah.
how do you think I feel? Like I'm 56, have to adapt to a social media lifestyle.
Looking at your social media, I don't think you're ever going to adapt to it because you're on the next level than anyone. Like it's.
But for me, what I'm trying to say is that I can see the pros to it, but I can also see how damn toxic it is as well. And I post, if you're very soft in nature or sensitive, that's the fucking last place you want to go. Be honest with you, I probably follow 500 or 600 people. You know how many people actually post out of those 600 people? About 15. I don't know what the other 550 have post Instagram for. But they're quick.
They watch everyone live there.
But they're quick to judge everybody else.
Yeah.
So then why have a social media platform if nobody ever posts anything?
It's
So
just
what's
way of
your-
keeping up with the world.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it comes back to if that's what you're in. That's what people are into these
Yeah.
days. It's just the trend. If one person does this, and then everyone's doing it, and then it's just follow the leader.
You post your highlight of your
And
your
I mean,
life.
it's not just
and
on
then-
personal things neither. And us for a business, we follow the news. So for me, without social media, I wouldn't see what's happening.
In this
I don't
day and
know what's
age-
happening with the players we're working with. So
The amount
to
of
be able to see it.
I tell you, there is some good content. When I'm down, I'll be honest with you, I do like the motivational stuff.
I love the TikTok stuff, the Instagram reels. Yeah, that's a good part of it, I reckon.
There's the algorithms, how it understands that if you like to look at something, then it keeps feeding you all this motivational stuff.
Yeah.
It stimulates me. And I really,
actually
that
love
part
it.
of it, I
I love
really,
it.
really like that part of it.
When I was struggling, I think every morning the first thing I did was to go on TikTok and watch the ones that I've saved that really get me up and going.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's social media can help.
There's positives, there's pros and cons.
Yeah.
But in relationships, I'm always thinking if I was a high profile person like yourselves, I'd be probably, and I had an insecure partner, which sometimes you can really, you sort of, I try and defend them in some way because it would be hard. I would probably have to walk around with my phone in my back pocket of my swimming costumes all the time, making sure she wouldn't jump on. Because there's stuff that will get posted to you that you sometimes can't control. And if your girlfriend was to read it, could be interpreted many, many different ways.
That's why they don't have girlfriends. So
Well,
they're smart boys.
I tell you what, I've seen arguments of girls and guys in your stature arguing about why did you like this girl's post?
Yeah, but I don't think you can understand.
No, I can't understand
Yeah,
that.
well, clearly.
I can't.
No.
Younger generation?
Now I don't want to say I'm toxic on the camera, but it can come off as like.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but see, you're old, Rod. You don't understand.
Okay, so I'll leave it at that then. Okay. We've only got 10 more minutes.
These boys are staying single this whole season. They've been told it's part of
Yeah, that's for sure.
their ruling. So
Let's ask you a question.
Yeah, no, you want to ask me one? Did you say?
if it's got to be asked, you may as well jump in now.
I mean, we've got so much content so far. This is awesome. It's come over better than what I thought it was going to come over. I just want to ask two more of mine. Then, if you want to ask yours, then you can go.
Yeah.
Life now. I wanted to. You did touch on. This is a real strong point that I want. Do you feel that you get the tools to be able to cope with adversity? Does the NRL educate you on that? Or do you feel that that's something that you could have got? Like you just said, as soon as you were cut off from the workforce, you had to go to the workforce, what does life after football look like for you guys? If you don't have, once you can't play football, like now you've been already in this position and you've openly said in the media that you had to jump on the tools and you hated every second of it.
It's like a loss of identity. I felt like, obviously I think Curtis is in the same situation. We went straight from school to NRL. So like all my life, I was just pictured me being a football player and that was my identity. And then when that kind of just went, like you're in a position where, who am I? Like what
So what happens now when you go back to...
That was one of the things I struggled with, like massively. I wanted to be a football player from 4 years old. That was my only dream. That was it. That was my obsession from 4 till now. And when that was gone, I found it extremely hard to, put my pride down and then go into a job where I didn't know anything about. I had to go meet new people that I would get, think, they know me, they've read this paper, they think this of me, they think that of me. I found it extremely hard to transition into the workforce. Like the NRL, I feel like they tick the boxes. They have, people where, we'll help you can do this, you can do that. But I think it's a lot of tick the boxes stuff.
But do you feel the onus is on them to give you the tools to be able to give you a life after football?
I don't think, I didn't rely on the NRL.
But do you feel it should be the onus on them now that you've been in this position? Or are you saying I'm getting paid well enough, then the money that I should make out of football in the period of time, the responsibility is up to me and how I invest it, or how I look after myself, or how I educate myself. Whose responsibility is it?
Because they don't really have a niche before their NRL. That's what they're destined to do. That's what they love to do.
But how can they get a career while there's?
There is
like
ways.
Someone
there
wanting to
ways.
get a career in any job.
Okay, go
There
ahead.
is ways. So when I was in Melbourne, I was doing my carpentry apprenticeship while I was playing at Melbourne.
Was that encouraged? Or was that a choice?
It was a choice. Like a group of players. Like as a kid growing up into a man, you got to make mistakes. You got to learn and adapt and build and get better and better. Because for me, I've fallen down and I could have stayed down, but I've got back up and I thought that, I can stay at home and sook about everything that's gone wrong. Poor me. But I think as a man and growing up, you got to, push yourself into being uncomfortable in them. Like, I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to go dig holes and do that. I fucking hated it. It was terrible. And I think,
that's not the only job you could do. You could study for something else.
Yeah, well, everyone's different. That's where it comes back to. Everyone's different with different interests. I think you did a bit of carpentry.
I done carpentry, and I also did.
So, but you were just about to answer the question where you felt who had the onus. Is it the onus on you, or is the onus on the
I think honestly it's the best to not rely on anyone. But
Yeah.
and then
So have you learned something now?
well, I think it comes down to what I think Curtis touched on before, where you got to have those people around you to say, let's invest wisely and do this.
But you've
so
now
you can-
been thrown back into the wilderness, right?
Oh, I think.
And now you're going to, and potentially you're going to go back into a
If we were
confined
to-
environment again. You're going to have your footy circle.
Yeah.
Are you going to do things differently?
Of
But
course,
forget about the
of course.
behavioural side of things.
If we weren't, then we'd be idiots.
Yeah.
But not forget about the behavioural side of
Just
things.
everything.
Yeah.
I think. If
But I think
can
they've
speak,
set themselves up now.
But
with
so how
different
would
people
anybody
around.
know then unless they made the mistake? So are you saying the normal protocol is that they just stick with them and after football they don't know what to do?
Well, look, I don't think we don't want to say nothing. Like, honestly, I think. Fuck.
Everyone's
I mean, it
different.
depends, they all
Everyone's
go
different.
out.
Everyone has different goals.
Yeah.
Everyone has different things they want to achieve.
I mean, Damien Cook's just I just seen he graduated in something, so he's a fantastic footballer. He's been in it for how many years? He's just still been studying.
But the
And, you
thing
know,
is, with some people, like not everyone's.
It's a choice.
Not everyone's the same as the straighty 180
No doubt.
footballers.
I agree.
Like, there's people in the NRL that have a different thing inside them that have made them NRL players, where maybe they're not naturally gifted, but they have hunger,
They have an
want,
ability, but they're not academic.
ability
I'd
and grind, and
what-
they have something that in them they might even have a little bit more cunt in them and they're just sorry about
No,
language,
go.
a little bit more mongrel in them than the average person. But sometimes that comes out in different areas as well, where you get the good with the good, but it might have a bad side.
What about
as well.
what about the monetary side of things?
The what?
Going the money side of things,
Yeah.
going earning the type of money you're getting, and then going back to work and earning $1,200 a week.
Oh man, for me it was a massive reality check.
Yeah.
I think that's when the depression really kicked in because
But that's what we work for.
Yeah.
because I'm sitting there like I'm coming from obviously playing NRL at 18 years old and then I'm on a job site earning
Yeah.
peanuts and
But that's what the wage is, though.
Yeah.
getting up early in the morning to work and like living an absolute it's the lifestyle is just horrendous.
So would you say that the lifestyle of an NRL player is
Of course,
glorified?
But with everything, there's bad.
So there's bad and
stuff
good,
to it.
yeah.
Of course.
And this is really how the public perceive
that's their
to
gripe.
justify.
Yeah.
And I say that to
you're-
everyone. Everyone thinks it's all sunshine and rainbows being a football player, but like, look, we can sit here and say even though we've put ourselves in that situation, but like it's
Not any average person can pick up a ball and go run into a brick wall. Like,
Yeah.
not
No doubt.
like,
100%.
Not the average person on the street and go,
100%.
oh, righto, I might get a ball and this guy's 125 kilos. I've got to run it straight at him
Yeah.
for 80 minutes.
And if anyone
26 times a year and do a pre-season, like, that's what I mean. Everyone's made up different. I think that's why NRL players, they're made up different than average people.
I agree.
Because otherwise, everyone would be playing NRL. Everyone would be athletes. I think you got to have something different inside you that probably isn't normal. It isn't like the average person's thinking pattern. I'm sure there's definitely smart. Like, I'm not saying they're like dumb or anything like that. I'm not saying that. Like, there's definitely, like, for me, I think I debuted, I was 83 kilos and I'm running at, full grown man. I was 18 years old, but that's just the way I thought and that's what I wanted to do. Like, it's just...
if people only
It's got to be
understood.
mental too.
Yeah,
It's
there's a
mental-
lot of, you think different and a lot of footballers think different to the average person.
And people look, and I'm glad that these concussions and brain awareness is now starting to come into play. I mean, there has to be a top price to pay. You guys, walk around like cripples after it. Not completely, but it's a lifestyle. And I think that's one of the benefits that we have spoken about recently in the time that you have been off is the chance that you actually got a preservation on your body for the last 2 or 4 years, even though it hasn't been chosen. So we look at that positive side of it. We might get a little bit more longevity out of it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start winding this podcast up now, and I think people will get a real good insight of just this side of the story. It's been hard, times, and when you actually get to live the life of a footballer or be firsthand a witness of what these guys will go through, you get a much more and deeper and greater appreciation of what they go for. There'll be nothing better than seeing the two of them come back into grade. And on behalf of Becky and myself, I wish both of you all the best of luck. And you know that I'm 150% in your corner. There's no doubt about that. There'll be no greater. Probably one of my greatest goals to come back and see you guys get playing first grade. I've seen the adversity and the problems that you've had to go through, and we're still not there yet, and we're still going to keep fighting the battle. But I think that people out there, just listening to our story, hopefully we can just help one or two people.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
100%.
It's down to Bronson now, because I think Bronson,
It's okay.
or I should just say actually, coming up is our masterclass for next weekend. So similar to what Curtis was just sort of talking about, the different types of things that you can come across as a football player. So if you haven't yet registered, then Roger Fabri, Braith Anasta and Willie Mason and Todd Carney are putting together this masterclass. So they come with a lot of expertise. It'd be silly to miss out.
And you actually heard from these guys, from the horse's mouth, that if they had a couple of different coping tools, that maybe life wouldn't have been as hard. But there's no doubt, no matter when you've taken your security and your workplace away from you and a lifestyle that you've only been brought up on, well, if you think that that's going to be just an easy transition, well, then you're foolish. Coming back to the game, I hope the people and the public share a little bit of time, give these guys a little bit of time and space to get their feet, let them get their groove. I know it's just going to come with the territory that, you know, the haters are going to be jumping on it, and it's like, oh, why did you sign him, or why did you do this, or he's. But these guys have tried everything in their their own capabilities to be able to control what they can control off the field, to come back to try and make sure that they don't make the same mistake again. And I think, as Curtis said, everybody's entitled to a mistake. Now fuck off and get on to the other side. See ya.